On April 30th, 1993, the number one women's tennis player in the world, Monica Seles, is stabbed while at a tournament in Germany by a deranged fan, which changed the course of her career in tennis history forever. Here's the story behind this iconic moment today on Daily Sports History. Welcome to Daily Sports History. I'm Ethan Reese, your guide to a rapid deep dive into sports history every day. Now, Monica Seles was born in Yugoslavia to Hungarian parents, and she began playing tennis at the age of 5 when she was coached by her father, who was a cartoonist and would use cartoons to help make tennis more fun for her, and gave her her signature two-handed style for not only the backhand, but the forehand as well. And she caught the attention of many tennis pros at the Junior Orange Bowl, specifically Nick Bollettieri, who had an academy back in the United States. And he brought over Monica and her brother Zoltan to the United States to train at his academy in 1986, where after 9 months, her mother and father would join her and her brother, and she would train there for 2 years. And she would have her first professional tournament in 1988 at the age of 14. But she wouldn't turn pro until the following year, where she would join the tour full-time as a 15-year-old. But that didn't mean she wasn't ready for her moment. After a slow start to the season, she went on a 36-match winning streak and won 6 consecutive tournaments, starting in Miami, and this would lead her to her first Grand Slam singles title versus number 1 in the world, Steffi Graf, beating her at the 1990 French Open, becoming the youngest ever to win the French Open at 16 and a half years old. But the winning streak wouldn't stop until she made it all the way back to the Wimbledon quarterfinals. And she would finish the 1990 season number 2 in the world. In 1991, she wouldn't stop, winning the Australian Open, and in March of that year, she would surpass Steffi Graf as the number 1 tennis player. And she defended her French Open title before having to take a break due to shin splints, missing Wimbledon that year. After her break, she returned to the U.S. Open, where she won, beating legendary Martina Navratilova in the finals, which made her 3rd Grand Slam that year, and she likely would have won all 4, if not for her shin splints. And she was the clear best tennis player, and she wasn't even 18. That year, she won 10 out of 16 tournaments she entered, and made it to the finals in every single one, and was still the number 1 tennis player at the end of the year. She continued her dominance into the following year, winning the Australian Open, the French Open, and the U.S. Open, and making it to her first ever Wimbledon final, but lost to Steffi Graf. So in the 3 years to start her career, she had won 22 titles, made it to 33 finals out of 34 tournaments she played in, and had a 93% winning percentage and a 98% winning percentage during Grand Slam tournaments. At the time, this was one of the most dominant periods in all of women's tennis ever, and nothing seemed to be slowing her down until 1993, where she was having great success again, winning the French, U.S., and Australian Open, where she again beat Steffi Graf in the Australian Open. Then on April 30th, 1993, she was playing in the Citizens Cup in Hamburg, Germany, facing off versus Magdalena Malieva at the Citizens Cup. The two were taking a break to get water and ready for the next set, and a man named Gunther Barche made his way down to the first row of the stands, and it wasn't until he was almost at the bottom that somebody noticed he had a large 9-inch Bowie knife in his hand and had raised it up, and giving attention to Monica as she moved quickly to see what was going on, and at that moment, Gunther brought his knife down and stabbed her in the shoulder blade. He was quickly taken out by security, and they rushed Monica to the hospital after the stabbing. She was very lucky when she got there that she had moved at that last second, as it could have been a fatal blow. And Gunther wasn't done, as he was going back for another stab after the first one. And if security didn't react faster, it may have been even worse. Luckily, her injuries were not fatal, and doctors believed she would be able to return within the year to tennis. But she wanted to know why he did this. And authorities in Germany found out that Gunther was an obsessed fan of Steffi Graf, the former number 1 tennis player which Monica continuously beat and took the number 1 ranking from. And he thought if Monica could not compete, Steffi Graf would be number 1 again. Despite this information and multiple witnesses witnessing the attack and the fact that it could have been a fatal blow if done anywhere else, the German courts just gave him a suspended sentence of 2 years, and he was required to have court-ordered therapy. So he was out walking around even after this brutal attack. All because he said he wasn't trying to kill her. He just wanted her not to be able to play tennis. And he got his wish for 2 years. Even though Monica had healed after several weeks after the attack, physically, emotionally, it was a hard thing to recover from, as it was unprovoked, and the man that did this was still out walking around. She refused to ever play a tennis tournament again in Germany. And following this, it did create change, as they now changed where the seats were, where players took breaks at, making it so their back was to the umpire instead of to the stands. But she was still afraid to return. The World Tennis Association, which gives the rankings for tennis players, tried to reserve the number 1 ranking as long as they could. But since she had been out for 2 years, they decided to give Günther his wish, and Steffi Graf became number 1 in tennis again. But in 1995, when Monica returned to tennis, the WTA gave her the number 1 ranking back, making her co-number 1 with Steffi Graf to begin that year. And she would go on in 1996 to win her 4th Australian Open, but that would be the last one she would ever win. She would make it to the finals of the 1996 US Open and the 1998 French Open, but sadly would lose in both those competitions. And she never recaptured the glory that she once had. She would remain in the top 10 of the world rankings until she retired, and she would also compete in the Olympics in 1996 and 2000, receiving a bronze medal. And she would go on to continue to play until 2008 when she officially retired, finishing her career with an 83% win percentage and 53 career titles, with a total of 8 Grand Slams. Though her career may have not finished as we all thought it would, she was one of the most dominant tennis players in a 3-year stretch, and many say during that time she was the best there ever was. And it's the saddest thing to see what fame and fandom can do, as there was no reason for her to be brutally attacked and go through this not only physical challenge, but mental. And fame can be a challenge for us all. Though we want to achieve greatness, sometimes fame can intervene and ruin our goals. But she didn't let the man take away everything from her. She came back and fought for everything she could and won another Grand Slam tournament, showing she had resiliency, and she continued to win as much as she could. And I would love for you to continue to help us win by leaving us a review or rating wherever you're listening. It makes my day every day I see anyone do that, and I can't wait to see them. Come back tomorrow for more daily sports history.